Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews. We have another really cool Zuru Toys figure to take a look at today. If you can recall, we recently reviewed a Velociraptor from their Dino Wars line. Well, we now have the T-Rex here to take a look at. I thought that raptor was very interesting, so I figured the Tyrannosaurus would also be quite interesting, and I can say I have definitely seen the sculpt of this Rex prior to this. I believe they had it released in kind of like a normal, just kind of a robotic dinosaur release before without like the armor and weapons and stuff, but I could be wrong as it's been a little while since I've actually seen it. But you can see again, as far as the actual box art goes, we have an awesome Dino Wars logo down there at the bottom, as well as some absolutely gorgeous artwork to the left of the Rex and the missile or whatever it's exactly shooting out of the top of that weapon there, as well as again Robo Alive and Zuru right there. If we turn it around and take a look at the back of the box, we again have some more information on the dinosaur. Again, the toy itself, kind of some information here as far as, what the dinosaur is capable of, and then a little area down here that shows off some of the other figures that they have in this kind of Robo Alive line. So let's break this out of its box and take a look at it. And here is our Robo Alive Tyrannosaurus Rex, and it definitely looks interesting to say the least. A really intriguing looking Rex. If you are not familiar with Zuru Toys, this is the same company that released the Dino Strike figures, and I was a huge fan of the Dino Strike figures, so I was really intrigued to check out this line of figures as well, which is obviously of a much larger size and a very different style of dinosaur figure, although actually similar in a way because they also had kind of like battling dinosaurs in the Dino Strike line, but these are like electronic sort of articulated type of dinosaurs, whereas the other ones were just like smaller dinosaurs you put together and stuff. So very interesting to have this kind of Dino Rider style, and that's definitely the thing that I like the most about them, because anytime I can be reminded of Dino Riders and get that absolutely awesome nostalgic feel, I am 1000% in, and that's definitely what I get here with these Zuru Dino Wars figures. And the Rex comes in a really nice looking reddish paint scheme and has like some green splotches here. I don't know exactly what those green splotches there, those like stripes, they almost look like injuries to the Rex, are meant to be, unless that's like, alien like blood and maybe we have green blood coming out. I really don't know, but the figure definitely looks pretty fun. We have a really big weapon up here on the back as well. So let's go ahead, take off the armor that we have here for it, and get a closer look at the actual figure right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt of our Tyrannosaurus, you can see that it is a bit of a goofy looking T-Rex, obviously. One thing you won't find with Zuru Toys would be any type of accuracy. They just kind of create stylized versions of dinosaurs, whatever, is kind of seen in their own image, and considering the fact that these are made for kids, that is 100% understandable. They would obviously be trying to create something that looks a little bit more exaggerated and something that would really draw kids into the figures, and I think that they've achieved that quite nicely with the figure. But even so, you can see that it does sport some pretty nice looking detail. Like, you could see some nice looking scale detail throughout the face of the Rex. The nostrils are sculpted out up here. And one thing I really love about these figures, the Dino Wars figures, is that you can see that they have kind of like glass eyes, and I love that. Absolutely love when a company produces dinosaur figures that have kind of that glass eye type look. And this one has a really nicely detailed eye, actually. You could definitely see some nice color variation and overall a pretty lifelike looking eye in there for our Rex, so that's definitely a big plus. There's also kind of like similar to down here how we have like these green areas. You can almost see like injuries up here on the face, even running down here into the lower jaw. So maybe they're like scars, I guess. And the dinosaur has obviously seen quite a bit of battle considering it's wearing armor and everything. Well, it was prior to me taking it off, but definitely something that was, pretty cool little minor touch that they've given the figure. You can see the teeth are painted pretty nicely. There's no real sloppiness that I can see as far as the teeth go. They look pretty good the entire way around. Again, we have that absolutely awesome glass eye right there. And then if we look inside the mouth, we can see a tongue in there, and it's also given a very nice realistic coloration, which actually has a bit of a glossy look as well, so there's that added extra bit of realism. on the inside of the mouth and the upper side. Unfortunately, we don't have anything up there. You can actually just see like screws and stuff up there. So there isn't any type of inside of the mouth to the upper jaw. Definitely nothing interesting in there. But as we lead back here into the neck, you can see some ridges picking up. Even here along the side of the neck, the scale detail actually looks quite nice, especially if you look up here on the top of the head. You can see that scale detail definitely looks nice. As you move down into the body, you can see that we have kind of like some really weird designs. They almost look like mustaches, as well as ovals that run along the back of the dinosaur. You know, it's kind of interesting because it's something unique, something where they were kind of thinking outside the box as far as what design they were going with, but not my personal favorite as far as coloration goes. I do kind of like the reddish color of the Rex, though, I will say that. And the scale detail definitely looks really nice throughout the figure. You can see some beautiful scale detail displayed throughout pretty much every aspect of this area, along with quite a bit of like creasing and stuff here in the neck region. As we move down into the arms, there is some muscle definition to them. Obviously, the arms are way larger than they should be for a Tyrannosaurus Rex, but going back to the fact that Zuru doesn't exactly make their dinosaurs aimed with accuracy, so we don't really need to go too far into that, especially considering the entire figure is very, very off as far as accuracy goes. And if we go straight from the start, the figure is carrying weapons on it and armor, so obviously scientific accuracy is not something we need to take into consideration, but you can see the fingers out here are pretty nicely sculpted. We do have some nicely sculpted out fingernails, but no nail paint, unfortunately. You have some osteoderms and stuff picking up here and there in the thigh region of the dinosaur. The kneecap is present, as well as the calf, and then we have a pretty nice looking foot sculpt down here. Yet again, no nail paint, which is pretty much the way I think all of these figures have been made, and probably are all made the same way. And then we continue to run out the length of the tail, and there's some more nice looking skin texture and stuff, some nice looking scale detail. There isn't really much going on as far as like really highly detailed areas of like showing off, you know, skin movement, like skin stretching, skin bunching, or anything like that. There's not too much of that going on, especially because the legs articulate, and that's kind of going to be like a running feature, I think, for the Tyrannosaurus. So you even have like this little gap here for the leg to continue to move. And the other side is pretty much going to look exactly, I would imagine, just like the side we just looked at. Definitely not really any type of significant difference that I'm picking up on here, aside from the fact that the green area is missing over here. We do have those kind of scars, but there's no green paint right there in that area, which is definitely interesting to note. We do have I almost dropped it, luckily I had his arm right there, but we do have a white coloration here for the underside of the Rex, but you can see there are just screw holes everywhere throughout the underside of the dinosaur. But again, this isn't exactly the type of figure that I would say is made more for the collector. It's definitely made more for kids, so things like that aren't really a big bother to children, so not something that I'm really going to complain about. And then of course we have the armor up here, which is where the Dino Riders aspect comes into play, and the actual armor and everything in the weapon looks really nice, actually quite beautiful overall. I'm very intrigued to see this actually shoot. Hopefully I don't lose that missile, because I don't know how far off it goes, and I have a lot of dinosaurs laying around here that it could get lost within. But the armor definitely looks really, really nice. We do have some articulation with the armor, as you can kind of turn it even all the way around if you would really like, almost. But definitely some nice articulation. And then there was headgear for the Rex as well, which looks pretty nice. And one thing I was concerned about with the Raptor was that the headgear and stuff wouldn't go back on once you remove those rubber bands, but that is not the case, and that's definitely not the case for this Rex either. So let's go ahead and check out how we put it back on. So the headgear, you just kind of place over the eyes, and as you saw, it just snapped right back on. There were no problems with that going on at all. And then same deal for the weapon back here. The weapon just snaps right on, and now it's in place, and it actually stays there quite nicely. There are these like little osteoderm type things that stick out of the side of the Rex that holds that in for you, so it helps for the armor to stay on a little bit nicer. As far as articulation on our Rex goes, we do have an articulated jaw, but we can see that it just kind of hangs, so I'm thinking there's a chance that might have something to do with the action feature. We also have articulation in the arms. The arms are made of a rubbery material, whereas the rest of the dinosaur is a hard plastic, so we can bend the arms and stuff like that. And then we have articulation in the legs, but yet again, I believe that's going to be part of the action feature, so let's go ahead and check that out right now. So before we do anything, we're going to push the button up here to launch the missile to see how this works. Okay, that went flying absolutely across the whole room. So that can definitely go quite far. I was actually quite impressed with how far that went. I'm going to try to just place it here. So we saw a little bit of a better shot of how it can shoot out without it taking off too far, as I'll put my hand here to stop it. And it missed my hand completely because I'm a terrible aim apparently, but that definitely works really well, and it can go sailing quite far. And then we have an on switch here, so we're going to see how the dinosaur walks. So he definitely has some pretty fun dinosaur-like noises, definitely some like old school sort of vintage dinosaur noises. The Raptor was hilariously fast, this Rex is much slower, so we don't have quite the speed going on for this one like we did with the previous one. But it also does have a jaw snapping feature that we saw working quite well. So overall, I mean, as far as what a kid would enjoy, absolutely, kids would love this. Adult collectors like myself, this may not be exactly your thing, but it's still pretty fun. I definitely, though, I can say that I like the Raptor a little better than the Rex, just because the Raptor sculpt was a little more appealing than the Rex sculpt that we have here. I feel like the Rex sculpt definitely looks a lot more childlike than the Raptor one, which the Raptor one was somewhat childlike. And yes, the figures are aimed at children, so it would be totally sensible for it to have a childlike, appealing sculpt, but you know, I'm just speaking on the part of us adult collectors, but it is still a really quite interesting and definitely a fun figure, that's for sure, especially because the action features work so well, as do the, you know, the weapon up here definitely works nicely also. As far as a size goes, for a length, you are looking at about 12¼ inches or 31 centimeters, and then for a height to the top of the head, about 6¾ inches or around 17 centimeters. And then if we actually go to the top of the weapon, just shy of 8 inches or 20 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Dilophosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line, showing you that although it's not absolutely massive, it does still sport some pretty impressive size, and you can without question see that here, especially in comparison to Mr. Papo Rex, who is a decent-sized figure himself. The Rex, although not huge, definitely has a pretty impressive size. And then for a second comparison, here is the Raptor with the Tyrannosaurus, giving you a good idea of how much smaller the Raptor is than the Rex. Definitely not to scale with each other, but there is a pretty significant size difference. So this Zuru Toys Dino Wars figure is definitely interesting, that's for sure. Again, it's a really cool idea for kids, definitely something kids will love. So if you're watching this video with kind of trying to get ideas of, you know, a toy to buy for your kids, these are a good way to go for sure. Like, I definitely have no doubt in my mind that kids would love this stuff because you have a combination of dinosaurs and a combination of weapons, and something like that has been a classic as far as dinosaurs go. It's always been successful ever since the Dino Riders line, and it's carried through to today. I would imagine kids are going to definitely love dinosaurs, and kids are going to love dinosaurs even more so when there's weapons on their backs and, you know, headgear and armor and all of that fun stuff. But as far as being an adult collector goes, it's still actually kind of fun because it has that really strong Dino Riders vibe, and I love Dino Riders. Anytime I can get reminded of Dino Riders, I am always really happy. The overall appearance to the entire figure is still cool, but I feel like if the Rex were just a little bit nicer looking as opposed to kind of childish looking, it would have been a more appealing set overall. Again, that is not to say that the figure is a downside or anything like that, because they're aimed at kids. So as far as what they're aimed at, they've created a figure that will perfectly appeal to the demographic that they are trying to aim this at. But being that I am an adult collector and this channel is aimed for adult collectors, it's definitely not the best Tyrannosaurus in the world. The detailing aspect, however, is actually pretty nice in certain areas. Like, it has some really nice vibrant scale detail and everything throughout, and even the armor and everything looks really nice. The eyes are awesome. I love the glass eye type idea as far as dinosaur figures go. I always think it just amps up the realism so much, and it looks great on this figure right here. The eyes themselves are really detailed, and definitely look nice. The paintwork as well, although not my first choice as far as coloration goes for a Tyrannosaurus with that kind of design along the back, is quite nice, and it's all nicely applied. It would have been a little bit nicer to have more paintwork, like paint on the nails and stuff like that, but areas that could have potentially been pretty sloppy, like the teeth and stuff like that, it's not. It definitely is applied really nicely, so that is a plus as well. The action feature is quite fun and definitely interesting to watch. I do love the vintage dinosaur type noise, and again, the action feature is something that kids will eat up for sure. You also have the weapon on the back, which works really well, and again, the armor and weapons and everything, giving me that strong Dino Riders vibe is never, ever going to be a bad thing. So the figure's kind of 50-50 for me. Personally, I like the Raptor better than the Rex, but we have a really cool Stegosaurus yet to take a look at, so we'll just have to wait and see how nice that one is after this. But the Rex is, definitely my second favorite, I would say, at this point. Definitely trailing behind the Raptor, but still, an interesting release and something that, depending on your preferences, you might be interested. So if you are, make sure you head to your local Target or Walmart, because both of those stores are carrying these figures right now, and you should have no problem picking them up at either of those stores. But before you go running out to grab one, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.